Okay, so this stock went from being the best ever to being like, oh my gosh, they're gonna go bankrupt, to now, oh my gosh, they might actually make it and I might make a lot of money from it. Hi there, it's Fabi from The Next Big Rush, and today I want to tell you a part 2 of the Western Uranium story. So if you've been following my channel, then you already know that I've invested in Western Uranium Corp. Now, this company was very interesting because of many different things, and if you haven't watched the video, you can hit subscribe and also go on to my latest videos, and then you're gonna see it's something about best uranium stock 2018 or something like that. Well, that story has developed quite a bit in the last quarter, I would say. So I participated in a private placement at the end of last year, 2017, and I was very hopeful because I knew that the management team had the experience that it takes to actually take a company from very small to multi-million dollars. And so I made a bet. Basically, I like uranium. If you're with me for long enough, you will know that I really like the story. And so I invested. The thing is, when you're investing in an industry that has been down for so long, it is a last man standing competition. And with that, you have to look at the company's ability to raise capital and what their balance sheet looks like. And I think that that was my #1 mistake with Western Uranium. So they've been closing very small, very frequent private placements, and that's not a good sign. That's a sign of weakness. There are a few other companies that you could basically buy blind because you know that they're backstopped by some very large, highly invested people who are not just gonna let it go. Like Sky Harbor. So Western Uranium wasn't like that. It was a bet that somehow this management team would actually take things up a notch. And something that really worried me was this lack of financing. And this obviously happened. I started to actually watch that more closely after I had already participated in the private placement. So that placement was very small. And then the next placement was also very small, and I started to think, you know what? Things aren't looking good. I don't know if they're gonna make it. And then the chairman left the company. Now, I don't know exactly the terms and the reasons behind that, but what I can tell you is that he was costing the company quite a bit for what was being achieved and what needs to be done in a company like Western Uranium, which is basically they have to hunker down and spend as little as possible because uranium wasn't really going anywhere just 3 months ago. And so that happened, so I thought, okay, this might or might not be a good thing. What are the true reasons for him leaving? I didn't actually get to call him or investigate, but I knew that, you know, for the money side of the stock, that's a good thing, okay? So less one person to pay, etc., etc. So that happened, but then something else happened, which was the fact that they came out and they've always had, not always, but they have had this license to operate the Pinyon Ridge Mill. So this is, I believe, the only mill that has been licensed in the US for the last 30 years. And what happened is pretty much some bigwigs down in the US said, actually, I don't think you guys should have the right to build, use, operate, manage, etc. this mill. So yeah, I think we're going to go back on our word and not let you use the mill for uranium because, you know, uranium is bad and that's very dangerous, so too bad. Well, that was a huge hit to the company, which they will, of course, have to appeal, and that's what they're going to do within the next few weeks. So they went from being a really strong story to having all these things kind of fall apart in a very short period of time. One thing that I didn't really like as well was the fact that they are trying to change the name of the company, which is fine by me. They want to make it Western Uranium and Vanadium. I'm for that change, but it kind of just shows that it's more of just something to show people that, hey, we're a vanadium company as well, because vanadium is catching on very well right now and it's starting to get really interesting. Well, that's fine, but really we want to see changes in the actual fundamental story. It's not like you have more vanadium just because you changed the name of the company to something vanadium, right? So that happened, but the timing of this is really interesting. Why? Because everything that has been lining up for uranium to take off this year is starting to really catch people's attention. Now, if you go on Twitter and just search uranium, you will see that there is an interesting amount of people who actually call themselves a uranium investor, which to me is very reminiscent of the whole silver craze that we had in 2010, 11, etc. that I know you watched. I know you watched those videos and maybe that's how you landed here. That's certainly my story. But anyway, so there's a lot of things going on in uranium. The price seems like it has reached a floor. It's starting to pick up. There's so many news coming out so fast in the uranium space that you're just gonna have to Google it yourself and find out. Or you can hit subscribe down here and you will hear about me telling you a little bit of the story with uranium as soon as I can get my hands on, you know, like a more organized summary, because it's really a lot of things. So this company was really great, then really worrisome, and now because of uranium picking up, all of a sudden, if you did participate in the private placement that I hinted at in my last video, then guess what? Even with those bad news, you're up at least 30% today. So was it a bad idea? Was it a good idea? I don't know. You're still under the hold period, so you can't really sell your shares, but the truth is I'm already up in my investment. So if uranium starts catching on from now onwards, then there's a high chance that this company might make it. Why? Because not only is the price picking up, interest is coming to the sector, and today they came out of left field with some piece of news which is very interesting. So let's take a look at the news. Yeah, so this just came out today and I'm like, what? A JV agreement? That's interesting. So basically it tells you right here that BMR, which is a private company, so you can't look them up, you can't really see what they're up to, has entered an agreement about the Sage Mine project, which isn't their main project for uranium per se, but it is very rich in vanadium, which is the commodity du jour. And what this tells you basically is that they have about 4.8 million pounds of vanadium at a very high grade, 1.72. But it also tells you that although they have a report from 2011 that work needs to be done in order for this to be completely NI 43-101 compliant. So basically BMR, which is this Australian company, will come and do the engineering work, scoping work, technical studies, etc., while they try to figure out, okay, how much do we actually have of this vanadium in the ground? And then they have the option to actually sign on with Western to say, okay, we're going to split the costs 50-50, which is what it says right here, and divide the vanadium offtake, so whatever they sell worth of contracts from vanadium, on a 65 to 35% basis. So BMR would keep 65% while Western would keep 35%. And for the uranium, 10% would stay with BMR and 90% would stay with Western. Now, after all this technical study that BMR is going to do, they have the option to go ahead and sign for this split, or they can actually buy the project from Western. Now this kind of caught me by surprise, and I really wasn't expecting a JV like this. Whether this will actually pan out or not, we're yet to see. But in the downturn, this is what you expect. You expect deals to be made. You expect a tight structure. And it seems like the market has really taken this well because the stock price is going up. Okay, so now you know why I'm very confused by the story and why I think this might actually work out in my favor very, very well. Now, this is one of the most roller coaster-like stories and stocks that I've ever bought into. I still hold shares, but the more I look at this, the more confused I am. All I know is that I am keeping my uranium investments, even if I shift from company to company. About a third of my portfolio is uranium investments, and I am going to keep looking for great opportunities because, you know what, this might be it. This might be the start of the uranium bull that we have been waiting for a long time. I know I've been waiting for this for 4 years, and so who knows, this might be it. If you're invested in uranium or not, tell me down here what you like in the uranium space. If you're not, then maybe tell me why not. I always like to look for contrarian views to mine because I know very little. So the more stuff that you can throw at me, information-wise, fact-wise, then guess what? The more I'm gonna grow and the more money I'm gonna make in the long run. Alright, that's everything for today. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe because there's a lot more coming your way. Take care.